Welcome to Relatable Wisdom, where everyday people share the quotes that change their perspective, helping you discover fresh wisdom for your own journey. Today I'm joined by Emma Lyons, a trauma-informed healer who walked away from a law career that looked perfect on paper but felt so crushing. She spent years in the healing world, and her work focuses on helping women recognize and break free from that harsh inner voice that keeps them small. So let's settle in and hear the quote that has been guiding Emma's path to freedom. Tell us your name and what you do.
My name is Emma Lyons, and what I do is I work mostly with women, and I help them. Well, I work with a lot of female entrepreneurs who are stuck or hitting a ceiling, and what I do is I help them with the kind of trauma that's really the root cause of why they're getting in their own way. And these are people who are stuck at five, people who are just starting out, people who are at five figures and trying to get to six, and on. People who just like hit a ceiling, and no matter what they do, they just can't move the needle. And they might be trying all the tools and strategies, and nothing is really moving the dial. So what I do is I help clear out the root cause so that they can really start moving. And it's really
Yeah,
cool because it like shifts a lot, not just their finances, it shifts a lot of different areas of their life as well. Because when you're holding money is like really connected to love and sexual energy. So when you're blocking that receiving, it shows up in other areas too, if that makes sense.
yeah. What's your favorite quote, Emma?
Ooh, well, this my personal mantra is that healing your trauma is not like a nice to do, an extra. It's essential if you actually want to be successful and fulfilled in your life. So it's not if you really want to have a juicy, fulfilled life, this is something that everyone needs to do because we live in a super traumatized world, and we all carry it. And it's time for us to break the chain, break the cycle.
How long have you had this quote or realization?
Well, I mean, I've been working on myself for a long time with personal development, like with belief systems and things like that. But more recently, I've kind of uncovered another layer, because within personal development, they talk a lot about changing your belief system, and you believe that rich people are bad and things like that. But I found that people who are struggling after doing lots of personal development and changing their beliefs, it's not usually that simple. It's not usually one belief or two beliefs. It's like a system of things. Because when we're kids, so most families are kind of dysfunctional. So we get caught in playing these roles, especially if you get stuck in the scapegoat role or we get caught in these dysfunctional roles as kids, and we continue to play out those roles into adulthood. So if we were assigned a scapegoat or the invisible one, we can be carrying that into adulthood and wondering why life isn't working the way we want it to. But it's because we're still operating within that, underlaying operating system, if you like.
Yeah. When you say healing your trauma, what exactly does that mean?
That means, well, we're all brought up by other people and obviously by our parents. And most people's parents haven't done that much introspective work, and they were brought up by people who had other challenges, like maybe narcissists, people with undiagnosed mental illnesses or alcoholism. And what that means is that the trauma carried by the parent gets passed on to the children. It can't
Yeah,
not get passed down. So the children carry that unless they go to therapy or find another way to address it and work through it. They carry that into their adulthood and pass it down to their kids. And that's how intergenerational trauma kind of grows and expands and goes down from one generation to the next. And if you look back just a couple of generations, there was genocide, there was famine, there was slavery, a few generations back. So we're carrying that. If we really want to thrive, we've got to work through that stuff and come out the other end. If
yeah,
we want to have children and pass on, a healthy future, it starts by doing that inner work and changing yourself.
yeah. Healing your trauma, right?
Yeah.
Would you be kind enough to share a story or a personal example of what it means to heal your trauma?
What do I mean by intergenerational trauma?
What it means to heal your trauma?
Okay. Well, it means to understand it intellectually, to see where it comes from. That's step one. but then to release it from your body. It's not just about belief systems. Your body actually holds all of this trauma. Like, it's not just in your mind. They talk about mindset work, but you'll notice like your nervous system responds to things. You get butterflies in your stomach, your body freezes, your body reacts before your mind does.
Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join, or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
Your body might get nervous when someone appears on the scene before your mind even knows what's going on. So you've got to work through that somatically, not just change the beliefs up here. You've got to work with the entire body. And that means kind of releasing physically as well as mentally. Like you could do that by shaking out. You can do that by kind of just connecting with your body, because we live in a society where we're very, very disconnected from our bodies. We basically just work from here down, and that's basically it. But all of the trauma is in our body, and we can release it. A good way of releasing it is through the breath, through different types of energy work. But it's recognizing and releasing, and then from that place you get to rewrite and rewire yourself for something new. And it's a process, especially if you have like fear. It's not just one belief system. It's like a whole operating system that's been telling you, you are this kind of person. You are a victim. You are the person who enables others. You are the person who rescues and looks after everyone else. You're the caretaker. You're like the hero. If into adulthood we continue playing out those roles, we never get to self-identify. We never get to really know who we are and what we really want. We're just continuing to unconsciously play out these roles again and again. And, this is why, trauma gets passed down and it just goes round and round. The victim becomes the perpetrator, and the perpetrator goes on to pass it down further. It's very cyclical. It's just, and go ahead.
Earlier on, I asked, you didn't. I think maybe the internet did break the question, so you didn't get it. The question I asked was that I know that this is a sensitive topic, but would you be kind enough to share a personal example of a trauma that you healed or you healed from? And I said, if it is sensitive, feel free to just skip it, and I would move on to the next question. If you're not comfortable with it.
I have plenty of examples.
Okay, thank you.
For me, it wasn't just one situation. It wasn't just one event. It was like a continuous, the way I was treated as a child. I was like the invisible child, So I'd never my parents and my family, they were never mirrored back to me that it was okay to feel, that it was okay to be angry, that it was okay to be sad. I got told that I was too much, and I got like isolated, and everyone just assumed that I was okay. So it wasn't just an incident. It was like a whole, and that could be even more damaging than just a one-off thing. It shouts at you. Like if for your whole childhood, you're kind of taught that you're irrelevant, that you don't matter, that you're too sensitive, that you got to keep things to yourself, that your feelings aren't acceptable. And that was my major wound. Just abandonment, really. Feeling abandoned. And it wasn't because I was physically abandoned. It was because emotionally, like my needs was kind of emotional abuse. But that was because my parents had their own traumas and do have their own traumas. They have to pass that down,
Yeah. Now that thank you for sharing that. You shared that it all makes sense. Everything's connected.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, what step can someone take to say, okay? Because the thing about trauma is that sometimes people know, okay, this is the stuff, this is the trauma I'm dealing with. Sometimes they have no idea, but it's affecting what they do, how the progress they make, the way they respond to things, the things they do, and all that. It just affects their life, their entire life, right? And how do they go about what's the recommendation you have for them to take the first step to actually diagnose their trauma and then start taking steps towards healing from the trauma?
Well, first of all, it's to recognize that we all carry trauma. We all do. It's just a matter of to what extent. And if you come from like a group that was kind of scapegoated or victimized, you carry that collective trauma as well. So it's not about whether you carry trauma, it's about how much. So that's the first
Okay.
thing I want to say. And, some people, they kind of just numb themselves. So they don't want to feel how bad it is. That's like a really common tactic. People have just numbed themselves out. So recognize like symptoms that it might be showing up for you. You might be procrastinating. You might really feel disconnected with yourself. You might not know who you are. You might not know what you want in your life. You're just kind of walking through life like a zombie. So many people, they come to the end of their life, particularly in Western cultures. They come to their end of their life and they realize that they never really lived, that they were just living someone else's script, that they were just there making the money, that they never really did what they wanted to do. They never really opened their heart. They never really fell in love. And they die with all this regret inside because they're just following the script, what society says you should do. So assume you have trauma, but just figure out how it's affecting you and how important it is for you to start addressing that. And look how it's affecting you. Like, do you feel connected to your emotions? Are you able to express yourself fully? Or maybe you're too angry. Maybe you repress your anger too much. Do you have like some kind of depression or mental illness or anxiety? These are all symptoms of deeper kind of, we call it, PTSD, or, if it's childhood PTSD, it's not just one instance. It's like over the long period of time. So it's more systematic than just, you went to war and you got traumatized. It's like your whole childhood was like a war zone on some level.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now, of course, you gave us examples and instances, but sometimes people don't even know that the things that the issues they have is because of the trauma they've not yet healed from. They feel that that's how everybody is. That's how, that's the normal thing. And it will
It's
take the eyes of someone of like an expert to actually look at it and say, no, you're not supposed, that's not supposed to be this. And so we actually dive deeper. They don't even know. And so if you are like, you are asking them to look, they don't even know. You say earlier on, you said that everybody has trauma to some extent, but they don't even like when they hear trauma. What they think of is, oh well, it's for those people that have issues.
Yeah. Well, if people are honest with themselves, we all have issues. It's just a matter, like people have anxiety and they think they're very sane, but anxiety is like, it's a mental disorder. It's a mental illness. But we just consider it's so normalized now. Everyone's got anxiety, but that doesn't mean it's normal. That doesn't mean it's natural that you should be feeling that way. There's something that's your body, your nervous system, your mind is like afraid of the future. So there's
Yeah,
something in your past that's causing that. So you've got to excavate that, find out what is it that you're afraid of. It does always come back to kind of fear and repression and hiding emotions and things like that. So you've got to be willing, if you want to do this work, to kind of to look at it and realize that people think that it takes a long time and all that and that it's going to be more painful than it's worth, but really, the really painful thing is going through life, wearing this 10-ton weight and never really being alive. That's the real kicker at the end of your life. You realize that you never did what you wanted. You never got to know who you were. You never individuated from your family and lived for yourself.
yeah, yeah. It's such a sad realization.
Yeah. Yeah, and everyone can change it for themselves, but it starts with making that decision. I call it the trauma matrix because we project all the fear. People are so worried about AI and everything, but I really see that as a projection because the real
Hmm.
matrix is not AI. AI is not going to hurt us. What's really doing us damage, the real matrix is our own trauma that's running our lives when we don't even know it. It's like we're just going through the days, going through the nights, and just going through the motions every day. We're in the trauma matrix, and if we really want to be free, we've got to free ourselves from that.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. Usually, the same thing when certain times you just see people just hate someone that they've never even met. And the reason being that that person reminds them of something that they just don't, it's not like they cannot even articulate it, but you see them, they just start expressing anger. And like the person is looking is like, I've not done anything. I've not even, this is the first time I'm seeing you in my life. How did I offend you?
Exactly. Well, people project all their stuff. That's the thing. People who have unresolved anger and unresolved shame that don't want to deal it, they project it out on other people. And, they can be on groups of scapegoated people like minorities. They get it, like the immigrants in the United States or in other countries. That's where all the collective shame gets projected on someone, usually in a family system. It's usually the most sensitive, empathetic person. All of the unaddressed shame and guilt and stuff that nobody wants to deal with, it gets projected on them. And you can see that in all people who have all kinds of like anger issues. They find anger everywhere. They project it on everyone else. It's your fault. But no, it's my anger. Have you heard that? If you're pointing at someone, you've got one finger pointing at them and you've got four fingers pointing back at you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Emma, for sharing your favorite quotes and just having me make sense of it.
Okay, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
having me.
What do you do, and where can my listeners learn more about you and what you do?
Well, I work a lot with women who are feeling frustrated and starting to recognize that there's trauma at the root of what's holding them back. Particularly women who were brought up and maybe realizing that they were scapegoated in their family system. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok on trauma.matrix, and also my name, emmaslyons.com. So you can reach out to me there. And I have a free
EmmaSLyons.com.
Yes, emmaslyons.com. That's it. And I also have, if you want to look at, I have a freebie. If you feel like you might be sabotaging, I have a like break the loop sabotage decoder, so you can find out really, because so many people are sabotaging and they don't even know it. So you could check out that free decoder. It only takes about 2 minutes to go through it and see how you might be sabotaging yourself for your business.
You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.